Okay, good morning to one and all. Welcome back to our political science class. And today, our main aim is to complete the chapter judiciary. Clear. So all the notes are ready, and I will upload that today. I mean, in between the periods, I will upload the notes there. So just to go through the notes perfectly and ready for the examination. You know that our examination is the first and foremost one. I mean, the 2nd of February. Clear. Commenced on the 2nd of February. So whatever the notes are providing to you, people read it carefully and give more importance for the NCRT questions. Clear. So already you wrote a number of questions in your textbook. Okay. So that is NCRT questions only actually. If you are observing, so we are able to find the same question in the textbook. Okay. So those questions are that important for you people. So give uh, perfect importance for such kind of questions and learn it properly and be ready for the examination there. Okay, don't wait for any revision classes or something. Okay, so we don't have much time for revision or something like that. So every day you have to read the things and learn it properly and move forward. Okay, so today I already told you that our main aim is to complete the chapter called judiciary. Okay, in almost all the aspects of the chapter is discussed here, and today we are going to discuss the last two three topics related to the same chapter, judiciary. Clear? Okay, so last class we discussed about public interest litigation, right? Public interest litigation, how the courts are interfering in the matters of public interest. That's what we discussed. Okay, and here we know that page number 138. Okay, we started this portion here, judiciary and rights. Judiciary and rights there. Okay, so I'm starting from there today. Okay, so remember the things what we discussed earlier, everything is important for the examination. Okay, so judiciary and rights. We know that it is the responsibility of the judiciary to protect the rights of each and every individual in the country, right? Clear. So protector of the fundamental rights, it's the judiciary. The judiciary is a guardian of the fundamental rights there, right? Clear or not? So fundamental rights is very much important for each and every individual, and we know that the Supreme Court or the High Courts are protecting these fundamental rights by issuing a writs there. And I already told you that the writs are important. It's a compulsory question for the examination. How many writs are there? How many are there?
Right.
Five writs are there. What are they? Amalraj, tell me Amalraj. What are the writs there? Tell me the names of the writs. Name it.
The prohibition,
Prohibition,
quo warranto,
quo warranto,
habeas corpus,
habeas corpus,
um, mm,
two more. Certiorari and mandamus. Okay. Here you can see we have already seen that the judiciary is entrusted with the task of protecting rights of individuals. The Constitution provides two ways in which Supreme Court can remedy the violation of rights there. First, it can restore fundamental rights by issuing writs, habeas corpus, mandamus, etc. Okay, that's in Article 32. The High Court also have the power to issue the such writs in Article 226. Secondly, the Supreme Court can declare the concerned law as unconstitutional and therefore non-operational. Okay, so the Supreme Court have the power to stay. Okay, some rules and regulations. So we can say that it is a non-operational. So no one wanted to accept the same. Okay, or want to act as per the same. Together, these two provisions of the Constitution establishing Supreme Court, the protector of fundamental rights of the citizen on the one hand and interpreter of Constitution on the other. So two functions are the Constitution. What is that? One is it is the protector of the fundamental rights of the individual. Okay, protector of the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. That is one duty. The next duty is interpreter of Constitution. Okay, interpreter of Constitution. So it is the right of or the duty of the Supreme Court to give interpretation for rules and regulation that existing in the Constitution. The second of the two ways mentioned above involves judicial review. Judicial review. So we discussed that what is a judicial review there, right? So perhaps the most important power of the Supreme Court is the power of judicial review. The judicial review means the power of Supreme Court or the High Court to examine the constitutionality of any law if the court arrives at the conclusion that the law is inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution. Underline. Okay, so any rules and regulations that are creating any trouble for the people, it is the responsibility of the Supreme Court or the High Court to observe it again. Okay, for a reconsideration, check it. They will check it again. That's basically termed as the judicial review. Okay, or a decree or the judgment that made by the judges in the court, which is considering or the higher court is considering that is not as per the rule or the interpretation is not correct, they can go for a judicial review. Okay, so clear. The term judicial review is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. Nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. There is no such a term is existing in the Constitution. Okay. However, the fact that India has a written Constitution and the Supreme Court can strike down a law that goes against the fundamental rights implicitly gives the Supreme Court the power of judicial review there. Okay. The Supreme Court. Okay. So it is very powerful in India related with the interpretation of the laws and protecting the fundamental rights of the individual. Okay. So it's a written document, we know that. However, the fact that India has a written constitution and the Supreme Court can strike down a law that goes against the fundamental rights. So it is the responsibility of the Supreme Court to stay or stop performing a particular law, considering or thinking that the law is creating or it is able to create any problem for the fundamental right of the individual. So Supreme Court can stop it. Besides, as we stop in the sense, they are able to stop the law in practice. Besides, as we saw in the section of the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, in the case of federal relation 2, the Supreme Court can use the review powers if a law is inconsistent with the distribution of powers laid down by the Constitution. Okay, so I already told you that it's the responsibility of the Supreme Court, and almost all the time Supreme Court is acting as an umpire between the disputes. I mean, the disputes between the states or the dispute between the central government and the states, Okay, if the rules and regulations that existing in the Constitution inappropriate or it is not sufficient to solve that issue, then it is the responsibility of the Supreme Court to take the final decision. Suppose the central government make a law which according to some states concerns a subject from the state list, then the state can go for the Supreme Court, and if the court agrees with them, it would declare that the law is unconstitutional. Okay, clear or not? So there is number of rules and regulation is mentioned in the Constitution related with the union list, state list, and concurrent list. If the central government or state government is doing something against the Constitution related with the lists, it is the responsibility of the Supreme Court to ban it, stop it from functioning. Okay, clear? Okay, fine. So next one, in this sense, the review power of the Supreme Court includes power to review legislations, okay, the rules that made by the legislature, on the ground that they violate fundamental rights or on the ground that they violate the federal distribution of powers there. So Supreme Court to have the power to go for a rethinking or observing the rules and regulation again and giving suggestions to the Council of Ministers. Okay, if they find this rule is creating problem for the fundamental rights of the individual in the country, or it is against the union list, concurrent list, or a state list. Okay, so Supreme Court can do some judicial review there. Together, the writ powers and the review power of the court make judiciary very powerful. So there are two special powers are there for the judiciary. One is the power of issuing writs, we know that. Okay, next one, what is that? Judicial review, another power. Okay, the judicial review, that power also is with the Supreme Court and the High Court. So we can say that the judiciary is powerful in India. In particular, the review power means that the judiciary can interpret the Constitution, right? Always it can do that. They can interpret the Constitution. Interpretation means, what do you mean by interpretation? What is that? Interpretation, I already told you that different judges, different advocates or lawyers, okay, they are able to give a perfect meaning for the Constitution. Sometimes they will fail also, clear or not? Sometimes they will fail to do that. Okay, if a junior court or what we can say subordinate court or a district court fail to give the accurate meaning for that particular rule in the Constitution, it is the responsibility of the High Court or the Supreme Court to go for a judicial review and give a exact interpretation for that particular ruling. I mean, particular rule there. Okay, many people think that the feature enables the judiciary to protect the Constitution effectively and also to protect the rights of the citizen. The practice of entertaining PIL, we know that public interest litigation, PIL, public interest litigation. So it is a major power, or we can say it's an important power with the judiciary. It can act, okay, or it can take decisions related with the issues, issues that facing the people basically in the country. Okay, so it's basically termed as a public interest litigation. Okay, it's basically termed as judicial activism. What is that? Judicial activism. So almost all the time we observe that if the Supreme Court or the High Court taking such kind of cases, in the other end we are able to see the legislature or the executive. So it is blurring the what we can say, the boundary line between the legislature and executive, or judiciary and executive. Clear? So it's called to be judicial activism, PIL, public interest litigation. Public interest litigation. Okay. Next one, do you remember that in the chapter on rights, we mentioned the rights against exploitation. The rights prohibits forced labor, trade of human flesh, and it prohibits employment of children in hazardous jobs. Okay, so already we studied that. There are a number of different kinds of exploitations are existing in the society. Different kind of exploitations are there. Okay, so there's a fundamental right also is that to protect we people from this kind of exploitation. That right is known as, what is that right? What is that fundamental right that protecting us from the different kinds of exploitation?
Right against exploitation.
Okay, right against exploitations. Right against exploitation. Don't write a right to exploitation. I already told you that. Okay, it is a right against exploitations. Okay, so what are these kind of what kind of exploitations are existing in the society? You can see that forced labor, right? Beggar or waiting system, trade of human flesh, forced prostitution, prohibits employment of children in hazardous jobs. Okay, number of kids still today we know that they are working in mines, cracker factories, or matchmaking. Okay, so that kind of industries are basically termed as hazardous industries. Okay, so prevent these kids working in the hazardous industries. But the question is, how could those whose rights were violated approach the court? One question is there. So the people basically they are facing this kind of exploitation. Maybe they are from, okay, what kind of classes? Economically backward classes, women, children, right? SCs, STs, like that. Groups of people are there in the society. They are facing a lot of exploitation, but there is no money with them. How can we help such people? Okay, economically backward or socially backward people. Okay, here you can see PIL and the judicial activism made it possible. So we want to help these people, economically backward classes, okay, or socially backward classes, women and children, okay, basically considering as weaker sections in the society, okay, or vulnerable sections in the society. So it's the responsibility of the court to support them through this public interest litigation. And we can say it is a judicial activism. Okay, thus the court considered a whole sets of cases: the blinding of the jail inmates by the police, inhuman working condition in stone quarries, sexual exploitation of children, and so on. So there are a number of such troubles are there. Okay, basically we are able to find in the society. So it is a responsibility of the courts to interfere in that problems and to do justice for the people, those who are vulnerable or those who are facing such kind of atrocities by a group of people or an individuals or even from the government, Clear? That's what the importance of this term, public interest litigation, PIL, public interest litigation, or else we can say it's basically termed as the judicial activism. Clear? Okay, so underline that. So what are the problems here? The problem that facing by the jail inmates. So that is related with the rights. We already studied that. Whoever is a murderer or committed a very bad crime in the sense of, okay, maybe kidnapping, murder, assassination, whatever it is. Okay, but want to treat that individual as a human, right? That's what the human rights. Clear? That's what we already studied there. So it is the responsibility of the Human Rights Commission to observe it, or the courts to observe it. These people in jail are facing any problem or not. If it is there, such kind of problems are there, the court can interfere in that kind of activities. Inhuman working condition in stone quarries or bricklinks or stone quarries, a number of families are facing problem there. Okay, their family bounded labor is there. Family based bounded labor condition is existing in bricklinks or stone quarries there. Sexual exploitation of children, POXO cases, number of cases are there. We know that regularly we are reading that yesterday also one such case revealed by the newspapers there, right? Studied or not that? Learned or not? So I am asking learned or not, because for political science students, we want to learn from the newspaper. We want to learn from the present situations. Clear or not? That's what I asked. Read or not? I will not ask read or not. I'll ask what is that? Learned or not. Okay, so that's what our textbook. Okay, that's what our material. Okay, so sexual exploitation of children and so on. The trend has made rights really meaningful for the poor and disadvantaged section. So social activism always helpful for the disadvantaged people, the people those living below poverty line, BPL. Okay, there is no money with them. Then who can help them? Who will help them? For that, a special institution is there. What is that? You know that? It is called to be Legal Service Authority, LSA, Legal Service Authority, where freely the people basically may be educated individual citizens or advocates. Okay, they are ready to help. So government will pay for it. Clear or not? Government will pay for them, so they are ready to help them without any payment. We know that if you want to consult an advocate, basically we have to pay huge money for them, right or not? I mean, and the terms of fees. Clear? But this lower section people or economically backward places people are unable to spend that much money. So for them, an organization is there's called to be Legal Service Authority. They are ready to help the people in judicial, what we can say, in some different kind of cases, or the problem what they're facing, or humiliation of what you can say, the human rights or fundamental rights. They are ready to help the people. Okay, LSA. Next one, judiciary and parliament. Judiciary and parliament. So we know that all these three organs of the government is watertight, right? Staying in watertight compartments, that are legislature, executive, or the judiciary, right? Okay, but we know that it is in watertight compartment, but in some sense, all these things are connected. All these things are connected there. So judiciary, responsibility to interpret the laws. Executive, their responsibility to enforce the laws. The legislature, their responsibility is to create or formulate rules and regulations there. Okay, clear. So if there is no legislature, the executive cannot function. There is no executive, judiciary cannot function. Okay, so judiciary and the parliament, apart from taking a very active stand on the matter of rights, the court has been active in seeking to prevent subversion of the constitution through political practice. Okay, so court will not allow any political party or the government to control the judicial system. Are you accepting that? Is any government or the political parties are able to control the judicial system in India? What is your answer?
No.
No. Okay. So theory says that no, it is not possible, right or not? So that's what we are learning, the theory, right? But contrary to that, I can say that, okay, each and every individual have their own politics, right? Yes or no? Okay. So the history says that happened number of times. Okay. The political parties or particular government that rule in the country with brutal majority, they are able to control the judiciary also. Clear or not? The term I used, it is brutal majority. Okay, clear or not? It means more than a two-third majority in the parliament. Such kind of political parties are able to create changes even in the constitution, right or not? Or they are able to control the courts. Okay, in India that happened for a number of times there, the time of Indira Gandhi's government, and still today the time of Narendra Modi's government, that kind of issues are there, but common people cannot understand it. Clear? Okay, let it be. The court has been active in seeking to prevent subversion of the constitution through the political practice. Thus, areas that were considered beyond the scope of judicial review, such as powers of the president and governor, were brought under the preview of the courts there. So some things are there. The powers of the president of the country or governors of the states, it is always out of the control of the Supreme Court or High Court. Okay, because in the Constitution, perfectly one set of rules and regulations are there, a particular areas there where we are able to find the powers of the president and governors there, right? So legal protection is there for their activities. Okay, there are many other instances in the Supreme Court actively involved itself in the administration of justice by giving directions to executive agencies. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so one rule, if any chances are there to create problem for the fundamental rights or the relationship between the states and central, the Supreme Court can give advices to the executive. Clear? That time the Supreme Court will give advices to the executive related with that particular rule, want to enforce it or not. Clear? Anyway, it is passed as a law and it is the responsibility of the executive to enforce it or not. Yesterday we see that in the newspaper or the news channels there. What is that? Yesterday one suggestion that made by the Supreme Court, a ruling that made by the Supreme Court. What is that? No vehicles want to run on the roads with filmed glasses. Clear or not? Head or not? Read or not that news? No. Okay, fine. So we observed that the police department yesterday is trying to find such kind of vehicles, and they booking cases and started fine for or applying fine for or legal penalty for the people, those who are using such kind of films in the glasses, vehicle glasses, right? Okay, but an exceptional case also we find in a particular news channel yesterday. What is that? In the secretariat, state legislature, number of ministers, they are using the same, but no one arresting them, no one stopping them, no penalty for them. What is that? What is that? So the executive can do that. If they want, they can enforce it. If they don't want, they will leave it. Clear or not? Okay, so that's it. So Supreme Court can give suggestions there. So the media personnel asked to the police department, why you are not giving or not penalizing them or not giving penalty for such kind of vehicles there. So the police department give the answer. What is that? We give 1 month exception for that people, it seems there. Is that possible? Is that correct? Is that good? Not at all, right? Okay, so that's it. Executive, if they want, they will enforce it, or if they don't want it, they will not do it. Okay, so Supreme Court can give some suggestions to the executive. Thus, it gave directions to the CBI to initiate investigation against politicians and bureaucrats in the Hawala case. So these are the famous scams that we observed in India. Number of scams are there. So we know that it's this term, the government is by the BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party. So in the textbook, almost all the cases we are able to find it is against Congress Party. Clear? Okay. So this political science textbooks or social science textbooks are basically, these political parties are using as their weapon against their rivals. Okay, they're political rivals. If a Congress party is the governing party, definitely we are able to find such cases against BJP in the textbook. Clear or not? So this is not a single-sided one. Okay. So the same here we are going to read about the problems that created by the Congress party. At the same time, number of other troubles are there that made by the other parties also. Clear? So here you can see the CBI to initiate the investigation against the politicians and bureaucrats. So the Supreme Court can issue writs to some departments to book cases against some politicians. Okay, if they find them they are guilty or they committed or they're part of any scams. Okay, definitely the Supreme Court can give suggestions to the what we can say investigation agencies. Okay, so the main important one in India it is a CBI. What is that? What is the full form of CBI? What is the full form of CBI?
Central Bureau of Indian.
Central Bureau of Indians. Ashish Beni, Central Bureau is correct. But what is that I stands for?
Investigation.
Yeah, investigation. Central Bureau for what is that? Investigation. Okay. Next one more investigation agency is there in India. What is that? International one. RAW. Research and analysis wing. Heard about that? No. Okay, fine. So let it. So the bureaucrats or the Supreme Court can suggest these investigating agencies to observe or find that crime that committed by or the trouble that committed by these bureaucrats or politicians, like the Hawala case, the Narasimha Rao case. Narasimha Rao is a former prime minister. He is famous for liberalization and privatization in India in the year 1991. Okay, illegal allotment of petrol pump case. So Narasimha Rao case is related with the illegal allotment of petrol pump for numerous people by taking commission. Okay, another one. Next one, you may have heard about some of these cases. Many of these instances are the product of judicial activism. Judicial activism. So India, the country, have a special situation. What is that? You know. So this kind of cases or commissions are not that what we can say troublesome in politics there, right or not? Why? So we are the people, basically, if you want to do or want to get something, basically we will give money for the God, right or not? That's what the practice. That's what the practice. So commission is everywhere. Okay, we are ready to give the commission for the God also even, right? Okay, so everywhere, if you're observing, so we are able to find that our political system, our bureaucratic system, this commission system is existing. Understanding or not, this commission system is existing. Okay, grassroots level, the people of the country is thinking like that. That is the problem. The new generation is not ready to change because we starting from like this. Okay, if you are going to temple, if you are going to church, you are going to mosque, your parents will give some money for you and will ask you people to keep that in the what? One box will be there in front of the temple. One box will be there in front of the church. One box will be there in front of the mosque also or masjid also. Okay, so we are starting life like that. Okay, commission. Okay, God, please make me to pass in the examination. Commission 100 rupees. Okay, so that's it. That's the problem there. So these scams are everywhere. We can see in the judicial, the bureaucrats or the politicians always practicing the same there. But the irony is, in the next election also, people will give vote for them and they will become again ministers. Okay, that's another thing. The Indian Constitution is based on a delicate principle of limited separation of powers, checks and balances. Okay, so separation of powers is perfectly maintaining in our country. Separation of powers both in terms of horizontal separation and vertical separation. We know that, right? Powers are distributed equally among the organs of the government and the levels of the government. Organs of the government in the sense executive, judiciary and legislature. Levels of the government in the sense central government, state government and the local self-governments. Local self-government. The same time, checks and balance also are there. Okay, so one organ cannot create any problem for the other organ there. So checks and balances, sometimes they are able to stop such activities. Okay, one organ is able to stop the activities of the another organ. It's called to be checks. Okay, check. Okay, thus the parliament is supreme in making laws and amending the constitution. So we can say that the Indian parliament is considering as the supreme body to make rules and regulations or make changes in the constitution. Changes in the constitution. Okay. Here, the executive is supreme in implementing them, while the judiciary is supreme in settling disputes and deciding whether the laws that have been made are in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. So, legislature is creating the rules and regulations or amending the existing laws in the constitution. Executive duty is to enforce that, right? And what the judiciary doing here, they are observing that whether all these rules and regulations are made by the legislature and enforced by the executive is within the framework of the constitution or not. Within the framework of the constitution or not. Simply no rules can be created by the legislature. So it should be within the framework of the constitution. Cannot make any rules and regulations out of the framework of the constitution. So always the Supreme Court will observe it clearly, right? Okay, 1 minute. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so remember these are the things what we discussed here so far. Okay. The Indian Constitution is based on the delicate principles of limited separation of powers and checks and balances. We know that all these organs of the government is able to observe or do their duties perfectly. Okay. And the same time, if one organ is creating any trouble to the other, so there is a power with all these organs to check it or block it. Clear? So it's called to be check and balances. Checks and balances. Okay. So despite such a clear-cut division here, last sentence. Despite such clear-cut divisions of power, the conflict between the parliament and judiciary, the executive and the judiciary has remained the recurrent theme in the Indian politics there. So, if any trouble is there in the between the executive and the judiciary, okay, that time what will happen there? The Supreme Court can interfere the constitution and solve that issue between them. So we have already mentioned the differences that emerged between the parliament and the judiciary over right to property and the parliament's power to amend the constitution. Let us recapitulate that briefly. Immediately after the implementation of the constitution began, the controversy arose over the parliament's power to restrict right to property. Okay, right to property. So I already told you that there are a number of fundamental rights are there. There are six in number. But at the time of or the beginning of the what we can say in the 1950s, when the constitution came into effect, there was one more fundamental right. It's termed as the right to property. Right to property. So there is a discussion between the legislature and the judiciary related with that particular fundamental right there. Is that possible to provide such a fundamental right for the individual, right to property? What is your answer? Is that possible? Giving a right to the people, that right to property is a fundamental right. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is that good or not? Once I already told this thing for you people, remembering that? Huh? The right to property, it was a fundamental right once, but the government changed it. Okay. Now it is just a civil right. Okay. Why it is so? So if it is a fundamental right, it is the responsibility of the government to provide land for the people. Okay. So escape from that trouble, government created or government take it away there. Clear? So we will discuss in the next class. Okay. Thank you.